Our conversation with the candidates continues here on AM Quincy for the city election coming up on November the 7th. And this time we welcome to the program Ward 2 City Council candidate Richard Ashe to tell us a little bit about himself and his campaign. Richard, good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Joe. How are you?
Oh, doing well. Thanks for the opportunity to let folks know who Richard Ashe is and why you're running for Ward 2 City Council seat.
And thanks for the platform. We've got 55 days until the election.
Was that all? Not that you're counting, right? Xing them out on the calendar as you
No,
go. Yeah.
The process has been just as exciting, I think. It truly has been. The last 4 months has been very exciting, good, great conversation. So as excited as I am for November 7th or as stressed out or however you want to put it, I'm excited about the next 8 weeks as well.
So, for folks who don't know Richard, who is Richard Ashe? Tell us your story.
I am a lifelong Quincy Point resident, lifelong Ward 2 resident. I grew up on Graham Street, and I currently own a home on Mount Street. I am a local attorney. I work for a medium-sized law firm, Baker, Braverman, Barbadoro, and Crown Colony. Practice civil litigation and family law. My civil litigation cases range from personal injury to insurance defense, contract disputes, probate disputes, and some zoning appeals as well. Land use, which I think positions me nicely for a lot of the land issues and zoning issues that we have in front of us in the city right now.
Sure.
And I have been involved in the past with a number of nonprofits in the city, namely the president of the Ward 2 Civic Association. I did just step down in order to run for the seat. That's kind of a formality. But I've held that position for 3 years. I'm involved with the Quincy Dems and ambassador for the Quincy Chamber of Commerce, big proponent of small businesses, and also the president of Quincy Pride. So the diversity and inclusion issues are front and center for me as well.
And your family has a long history in Quincy Point, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
My great-great-grandparents migrated to Winter Street in the early 1900s. The story seems to change every time I hear it. But
As those typically do, yeah.
But they migrated from Lebanon to Winter Street in the early 1900s. My grandfather, Abe, worked for Boston Gear Works. Some of my relatives, cousins, second cousins worked at the shipyard. A nice, of course, closeness to the history and trajectory of Quincy Point. My grandmother, Bernice, everybody knows her as Chickie. She passed 4 years ago, and after that, I felt this big weight to carry on, kind of that legacy and that work. She was a community staple and an advocate for years and years. And it's been really nice revisiting all of that over the last 4 months of campaigning.
I've been a beneficiary of Chickie's sweet treats for many years.
Oh.
And did you pick up the?
Did you get the 7-layer bars, or did you get the angel food cake?
The 7-layer bars.
They were always both sugar-free somehow, but I still
yeah,
gained weight.
Have you picked up the baking mantle?
I have not.
No. Okay.
No. Not. I'll leave that for after the election.
Okay.
But all of the community service, the connections, I truly believe, I know that I'm the best representation of this ward right now, of the past, of the future, and of the present and where it's going.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the conversation that you had with yourself and your family about seeking election. Why?
Why? The why is it's easy to answer, and then it's extremely hard to answer.
Okay, well here's your chance to do both.
I truly believe that we could use more representation, advocacy, transparency, and communication.
We meaning Ward 2?
Yes,
okay.
Correct. Everybody says, and you and I probably hear this at least twice a day, that the city's at a turning point and a changing point, and I don't want to get lost in the shuffle with that. A lot of development issues, from the roadways being paved to keeping the green spaces, and a lot of the issues we've been talking about for years, the clubhouse, Faxon Park, Washington Street corridor, these are all conversations that I remember former councilors having. And I haven't seen the resolve that I would like to see, and I haven't seen really the work put into that resolve. We all have limitations to our positions, but I haven't seen the work or put towards those efforts that I know I'm capable of and that I would put front and center in my everyday life. And And as I've been saying, from campaigning, maybe it's a little more, talking and door knocking and campaign-related events, but my day doesn't change with respect to a city council seat. I truly think I will operate the exact same as I did in March as I will in November, whether or not I'm successful in this election.
Okay.
The Ward 2 City Council seat truly is an extension of my life up to this point, and generations of my family's life up to this point, and I think I am uniquely positioned to do the best job.
So can we talk about that? So if you are elected, what is job one for you on the city council for Ward 2?
Job one, my top priority, outside of just more transparency, communication, are taking care of the seniors. I know you and I spoke a few months ago on all of the plans that are coming down the line for the seniors, namely at 1000 Southern Artery, and I want to make sure those are done to the level that that they deserve, that the seniors deserve, and also that all of the promises that have been made to me are actually implemented.
By the management
Correct.
Of that organization?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. In terms of, I know, security cameras, door locks, traffic issues.
Yes. Security cameras,
Yeah.
I actually received communication earlier this week that the contract has been approved, and that they're just trying to pick a date with the contractor to begin the installation. So that's great and very timely for this meeting.
Yes.
A number of smaller capital improvements, paving the parking lots. Of course, there is a heightened sense of awareness for seniors walking with their bags and their groceries, and some seniors go grocery shopping once a month, and they've got 4 or 5 different trips up to their apartments. So the repaving of the parking lots, bigger speed bumps, larger speed bumps, keeping that cut through down was also important. New key systems, making sure that people don't have spare keys that they used to, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So that's number one. And then number 2, we get into issues like the 4 River Clubhouse, which actually is a nice segue from the seniors, because I would love a senior center there, which I don't think is a surprise to anybody. It's been discussed for years.
Yep.
I know 2 years ago, September, the end of this month, I hosted, through the Civic Association, a Ward 2 check-in. And we were at a standstill with the clubhouse, and I know that we vote on the right side. I know when you walk in, I'm sorry, for those who don't know, when you walk into the 4 River Clubhouse, we vote to the right. And that room, which we call the fireplace room, that's complete and can be rented out. But finishing it, getting a good, solid senior center satellite from the Kennedy Center, there's probably going to be a lot of talk about that happening soon. It's an election year, so it seems like everything is on the horizon to be getting done miraculously. But really making sure that program is foolproof and will last for a long time and stick around. I want to be part of every single conversation I can with respect to that, because we have the most seniors in the ward, and we're the farthest away from the senior center. If you look at from Quincy Point to Squantum, sometimes that can take you half an hour.
Depending on traffic on the boulevard, right? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Is the clubhouse complete now? Is the renovation done there?
As far as I'm concerned, it's not complete.
Really?
I'm not privy to a lot of the conversations. The last article that I read, it was almost completed. But the right side is open for people to reserve it if they'd like. Yeah.
Okay. And just outside the field, also underwent a pretty major renovation not too long ago.
Yes.
Has that been working out well?
Yes. That people frequent that park.
Yep.
Some families I know go there every day. An ADA accessible park towards the 2 side streets, for those that don't know, that bookend the 4 River Fields, are Harrison and Beechwood. So towards Beechwood, there's the ADA accessible park that opened 4 or 5 years ago.
Sounds right.
That people love. Recently, actually, it was brought to my attention that there was the exit and the entrance was just open, and of course it was a large, probably a 10-foot
For a wheelchair access.
for a wheelchair access, of course.
Yeah.
But then the problem became that the kids were running in and out.
Okay.
So we did some work with that with the Parks Department, which I was happy with. Through the grants to the Civic Association over the last 2 years, I've done a lot to the beaches. residents will notice a new 12 by 18 shade structure down at Mount Street Beach with all new picnic tables, and there's a wheelchair access kind of ramp over to it. Just keeping in mind the people that frequent the areas, give families somewhere to have lunch while they're on the beach during the day. Also, the seniors in the area being able to enjoy it as well.
Sure, out of the elements as well, which there have been a lot of elements to
Yes.
get out of this
Yep.
season for sure.
No kidding.
What else does it need? Does it need anything else at Mount Street?
I would love to do a ton of work there. I mean,
Okay.
and I will continue to advocate for that area, for Avalon, for Mount Street, for the two kind of community green spaces in Quincy Point. Yeah. And then, of course, we also have Faxon Park
Yes.
in Ward 2.
Yeah, a meeting just not too long ago about plans to improve there. What do you think about those?
I thought the meeting went well.
Yeah.
I think that it may have been a bit overdue. I think the money for Faxon Park came in 2017 or 2018. So I know with COVID and trying to get stuff done and rally everybody, get on the same page, it takes a while. But again, I would have done it a lot sooner. Put some people's feet to the fire and make sure stuff gets done. Faxon Park, the current proposals were for, the main proposals were for a new pavilion up there, which I think is great. And then I think the second largest money-wise proposal was for a bathroom. So with the bathrooms, I say the bathrooms are necessary, but I know at Fall River there are bathrooms that are completed, but they're only open for special events.
I see.
So I understand that the city has some kind of an electronic lock system now. I would push for those bathrooms to be open from the summer, from Memorial Day to Labor Day, from 8 to 5 or 8 to whenever sunset is, akin to Wollaston Beach, with that lock system. And I really don't want to see that much money being spent on bathrooms that are never used.
Okay.
I think that's pretty important up there as well.
I guess we should remind folks what Ward 2 consists of, the actual geographical area, because we're talking
Yes.
about Faxon Park, and a lot of folks might be
Right.
not familiar. That's part of it's in Ward 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Ward 2 is from the Fall River Rotary down Washington Street, and then you loop up behind Gennaro's, down Quincy Ave as well. So Washington, Quincy Ave, behind Gennaro's to Faxon Park Road, all of Faxon Park, and Penn's Hill up to Braintree. So we actually border Braintree and Weymouth, and I could be wrong, but I don't know any other ward that may do that.
I'm not sure either, but
I think I just thought of that. So don't crucify me if I'm wrong.
But point is, it's pretty diverse within its
It is.
own with its own geographical area.
It's very diverse.
Yeah, it's very Washington Street corridor, very commercial. Very much developed. But the Penn's Hill, Faxon Park area, very park-like, very rural, right?
Residential.
Yeah.
Young families.
Right.
Families with young children, working professionals, close to the highway. They have a great neighborhood group, Penn's Hill Neighborhood Association. They're a fantastic group of young parents, and it's been really nice. I've known a lot of them for a while, but it's been nice getting to know more of them through this process as well. And then you get the Friends of Faxon Park, and they also they're a great group advocating for green space and conservation and preservation, and then in Quincy Point, you have it's one of, if not, I might be biased, but one of the most amazing places because it's so diverse. I don't know anywhere else where there's a temple and a synagogue and a Brazilian church and a Protestant church and two Catholic churches, and then nationality-wise, it's people from every different country or background. That you can think of.
Well, you mentioned the shipyard, and that is part of the reason for that.
Of
So
course.
many folks came to work there for so many years, right, and settled.
Yes, of course.
How are the schools in Ward 2, Richards? Do there any glaring needs that you think that the schools in the ward need?
Well, piggybacking on kind of the diversity, the diversity, I won't even call it an issue because I think it's great, but the diversity, the complexes that come along with that. I would love to see more. Quincy Public Schools now has different bilingual liaisons for the system, and I know that there is a need at least at Point Webster, I'm sure at the Marshall as well, a need for the liaisons to be there certain days a week, and I've actually had some discussions about that, and I would love to further those to make sure that the language barriers are being taken care of. There are a lot of parents and families that don't know what they don't know, and sometimes that is the language, and that a lot of the maybe disciplinary or academic or behavioral problems could be cured with more communication and being able to cater to those families.
Sure. To that end, you mentioned you'd communicate better with your constituents. So how would you do that?
Regular newsletters.
Okay.
Social media postings. Maintaining a mail distribution list. I know getting paper mail newsletters out is very important, especially since we do have so many seniors that maybe don't have access to the internet or to email. So really getting substantive, important newsletters out. I don't know. I would even suggest doing them monthly, because there is so much going on, and I find that families are or people that are maybe displeased with the city or aggravated by a certain issue, they're not educated on it. So there maybe filling them in doesn't help them, but sometimes it might.
Okay.
And making sure the local businesses are highlighted. We have so many great small restaurants and shops, and really getting all of that out to people, because the more they know, the closer they feel to City Hall, and that really is the City Councilor's job.
Do you think in-person meetings would be viable as well?
Definitely.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. So how often do you think?
Quarterly.
Okay.
Yep. I would do quarterly, and that'd be a great use of the clubhouse, of course, and doing them closer to people's homes because of the mobility issues, and
Sure.
and making sure they're accessible. But also, with respect to community meetings and development, and I have a great relationship with a lot of the developers and a lot of the attorneys for the developers, and that's not to say that I would, anybody would be getting special treatment, or I just blanketly like projects because of who's built. I truly don't, and I think everybody knows that. But I want to be a part of those conversations as early as possible. So there's some shakeups on Washington Street probably coming down the pike, and I want to be a part of those conversations as early. I want to be able to say, what are the rough plans? Where is this going? The earlier the people know, the less aggravated they may be, or they feel like they're a part of that community process.
Okay.
Yep.
If you are elected, zoning will be one of the major issues that
Sure.
you'll deal with in the City Council. Do you think there need to be changes or amendments to the current zoning regulations?
I hope so, but
Yeah.
I don't know where the other councilors are on it, of course. I would hope to see some changes, yes. I know for Ward 2 you have residential B, which most of the homes are 2-3 stories. So you might see a single family and then their proposal is to make it a 2-family. A lot of those are allowed because people don't understand that that's just how a lot of the ward is zoned. But I would like to see some changes to that as well, yes.
Okay. One of the major issues you would face if elected is the administration's plans to lease the Granite Links golf course to Quarry Hills Associates for 99 years.
Correct.
Do you want to comment on that?
Sure. I attended the community meeting on it back in June. I believe it was May or June. I think if we take a step back from that and realize that it was at one point a landfill, we do have great restaurants on it. It's a beautiful course. You have great views of Boston. It is truly an amenity to the city. If we start there, the conversation becomes a little easier. I wouldn't approve the lease or the proposal as it is right now. I think that we need to do a little more digging into the math and what the city's getting. But I also think it's a good time to do that, because there's a lot of movement in the city to try to retain families and keep them happy. And if we can revisit all of those proposals that were guaranteed 20 years ago and make sure they get done now, then I see it as the glass is half full, but it's a good time to make sure that that stuff gets done, the walking trails and the parks and hopefully that brings everybody to the table and that gives everybody the resolve that they need.
Have you thought about what committees you'd like to serve on if you are elected?
I actually haven't. I haven't given too much thought to the committees.
Okay. Well, by de facto, you'd be on the Finance Committee and the Ordinance Committee.
Yes, of
So
course.
those two are committees as a whole. How do you think your experience as an attorney would translate into serving on the City Council?
I think it would translate very well. I mean, as a litigation, you're even in my family law cases, you're talking to your clients all the time. You're always accessible. You're always on, and you're a part of you become a part of your clients' lives sometimes in complex matters. So understanding statutes and rules and regulations and being able to argue case law is one thing, and I think that I would be able to bring all of that to the council, but then also communicating with your neighbors and your constituents and making sure that they know who you are, where you are, have your phone number. I know a lot of people that just want to be heard. Mm-hmm. And they might even know that you can't solve all their problems, but you're listening. And one day you might be able to, and maybe some of their concerns will make it into a different conversation something will come of them. And a lot of people I know appreciate that.
Can we go back to the shipyard for a minute? It's
Sure.
Arguably one of the most undeveloped pieces of land within the city of Quincy, really.
Yes.
Do you have any visions, hopes, desires for that piece of property in the future?
Visions, hopes, or desires. I think anything is better than what it is now. To be honest with you, I will say I have a good relationship with Jay Cashman, who of course owns a lot of that land, and I want to protect the USS Salem and all of Margaret LaForest endeavors with the Salem, and make sure that the area is what is the perfect mix of the history and of the future of the city. Maybe it is more development and restaurants. And I think if that is met with a good level of conservation and green space, that'd be palatable to a lot of the people over there and a lot of the residents over there. You also have Winter Street, which of course NeighborWorks and Caritas do a lot of work over there now. Had a great meeting with the folks at NeighborWorks last month about the proposals that they have to continue on their mission for affordable housing. And if that ends up being the hub of affordable housing in the city, I also kind of agree with their projects and how they look, how they feel, how they add to the aesthetic, and also that they may be tucked away from people that may not want to live next to affordable housing units or buildings. I do think that the entities that are building them do an incredible job at maintaining them and cater to a huge need. But I think that's a great spot for all those buildings as well. So keeping that in mind, keeping the development of the shipyard in mind, and juxtaposing that with affordable housing, I think it's a delicate conversation, but I think it can certainly be done.
Sure. Been out door knocking?
I have.
What are folks telling you?
Folks are telling me that the top of the list, streets, getting their streets redone, taxes, residential tax breaks and senior tax breaks. I know a lot of the issues are around when was the last time that the percentage for tax deductions was increased, and I think it was a while back. I want to say the early 2000s. So I'd be interested in continuing to dig into that as well.
Okay. Would you support a residential exemption?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yep.
What else are they telling you?
Let's see. They wanted, a lot of it is when is this going to be done? What's happening with that property? I didn't know about this meeting. How's that development going? And which is good because I do know a lot of those answers. So that's been nice. And then a lot of people that just want to know who to contact or where to go, or it's been good.
Going forward, what's the campaign strategy, Richard?
Going forward, going forward, what's the campaign strategy? So, I actually this Friday is going to kick off a mini event series that I'm planning. It's the Fall Fridays Food Truck and Music, and that's 6 to 8, 2 engagements. This week is at Faxon Park, and then switch to Fall River, Faxon, Fall River. So it's 4 Fridays, 6 to 8. Be a get together of some music. I have an entertainer coming every Friday night. A food truck, Craig's Cafe. We'll be there for adult beverages. The food trucks are Mom on the Go, South Shore Taco Guy. We've got dessert trucks, and that really is to get people out on back to school now. The families, the parents want something to do on Friday nights, and I think a lot of the neighborhoods have good luck with retaining neighborhood associations and regular weekly, namely Marymount. I mean, they have a great neighborhood association, and I know they all meet every Friday night. So I would love to be able to begin something like that, and that that is both in an effort to get people out, hear more about my campaign, sure, but also it's kind of bigger than that. It's get to know your neighbors, make friends. Maybe you see people you haven't seen in a while. That's also been a highlight of the campaign so far, is seeing people that I haven't seen in a while, or friends of my family, or friends of my mom, or my uncles, and they come to a standout, and then they end up going to a barbecue after, and that's awesome. That's truly warmed my heart, certainly.
Sure. Is there a website for folks?
There is.
Okay.
RichardAshforQuincy.org is my website. The Fall Fridays Food Truck and Music kicks off this Friday, September 15th, September 22nd, September 29th, and October 6th. I have a final push fundraiser at Coops on October 12th. I've tried really hard to bring some business to each of the restaurants in the ward and then in the neighborhood. And we're going to end that endeavor with one last get together at Coops. Election is November 7th.
That's right, yeah. Anything else you'd like to let folks know about you and your campaign right now?
I humbly ask for everybody's support. I know that I am the best person for this job, and it truly is. It's been an honor receiving the support over the last 4 months. I don't take one person's support or handshake or conversation or confidences. I don't take any of that for granted at all. I will continue to work to represent everybody in the ward, and really these last 4 months have just been the beginning. So I'm thankful and appreciative to everybody at the city who has helped me help constituents. A lot of that's a key to having good relationships with people, with the powers that be, as they say, and helping constituents with issues. And really, I plan to be more proactive than reactive. I plan to go out and get businesses for Washington Street. I plan to start conversations that aren't being started. I don't want to just circulate, I shouldn't say just, I don't want to circulate, zoning board meeting minutes, and kind of the everyday, the obligations. The seat is what you make it. The seat is also my life. So I will make it my life, and I truly believe and hope that everybody, that comes off as genuine. It certainly is, and I truly hope for everyone's support on November 7th.
Well, appreciate you stopping by to tell us your story, and we'll see you on the campaign trail.
Thanks, Joe.
You're very welcome. Thank you for watching us here at AM Quincy. I'm Joe Catalano. We will see you next time.